How you going, brothers and the occasional sister? If you should decide that living is harder to do than dying and you should take your own life, you should understand this one thing. And I want to talk to you from a place inside myself, which is not easy. This morning I woke up feeling less than fantastic, and I'm going through a grieving process, and it's taking a lot longer than I thought it would. I thought I was through it, but I realised there's still things coming up for someone in my life who decided to take their own life this year. Some of you watching the channel know who that was. Please don't mention the name, because we want to look after the privacy of that person who's no longer with us and their family. But I think as we all have somehow been touched by suicide in our life by somebody at some stage, this is a valid topic to address. Most people that take their own lives didn't want to do it. In fact, there was a survey done on the over 2,000 people that jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, and I think out of that 2,000, 11 survived. Some were paraplegic, some were quadriplegic, some's had life-changing injuries, but every person that survived reported the same thing. From the very moment they left that bridge, they were filled with regret. It's so unnatural to take your own life. People do it when living is just too hard, and I've spoken to those that have, and I can understand it. I've been in a place where the physical pain, when I was going through a terrible time, where that would have been an option to escape it, and thank God I didn't, because I love life. I love life. I'm grateful for every day and every moment. I want to talk to you about how I feel and what the hurt is that, and I don't want to portray this as me being a victim, because I'm not. I want to portray it for those of you that are thinking about taking your own life, just to remind you how your pain doesn't go away. You just transfer it onto those who loved you, those you left behind. Most of all, your mother and then your father, or your father then your mother. One's neither greater, but I have talked to mums and dads, and the pain never goes away. It never lessens. It never becomes something that they learn to somehow shut off completely. It's always a little bit there. They have to shut off because life has to go on, particularly when they have other children they have to look after and their responsibilities. Life does go on, but it goes on never the same. So if you are contemplating taking your own life, just for a moment, move away from yourself and your own pain and think about that. Think about your mother, think about your father, think about everybody that loves you, and there's a lot more people out there that love you that you're even aware of. Of course, when you're in that frame of mind, no doubt you could be classified as almost mentally unwell to make these decisions, but a lot of people calculate their suicide right down to the very finest last detail, and they pull it off. Men, a much higher rate of suicide with men, partly because men are a lot more aggressive and a lot more brutal, and when they do it right. With women, it's often a cry for help, and often they fail. I cannot imagine what it's like for a parent to lose a child to suicide. So this morning I was out there helping a young fella that's staying there right now, teaching him some stuff, basically how to use tools and that. And I reflected back to the young man who took his own life this year. A young man who I had taught for the last 5 years. I got him his first rabbit, his first deer, his first pig. Taught him how to gut them, how to carry them out, how to tie them up, how to prepare the meat, how to cook it, everything around it. He used to spend weekends with me. He'd send me a Father's Day card every year. And I saw him as my son, and I saw him as the future generation of this world. And when I was going through my own health battle and didn't know if I was even going to be around, I had a lot of really nice feeling inside myself that really warmed my heart to know that this young man would be the future, because he was going so well. He led his rugby team right through the season undefeated. Every time I was doing a job in the field and he could see me struggle, he'd jump in there straight away. If I was lifting a trailer onto a toe ball, he would like be in there straight away, let me help you. He was the sort of guy that wouldn't stand around thinking of himself. He'd look at everybody else and see how he could help them. He added so much value. When I take him fishing, he was the first guy to bait up my hook or grab a fish and whip the hook out of its mouth. He was one of those rare people that put other people first, and he was loved by so many. His funeral had about 400 or 500 people outside, and the church was packed. You couldn't get any more people in, and there's people that I knew it would be like that, and I went early in the morning before it started because I wanted to get a seat close to his mum so I could show her support and those around who loved him. Every day I think about him. Every day I have a little bit of sadness, and a lot of my sadness is for the waste of such a amazing person who added so much value to so many other lives around him. It became almost unthinkable it is unthinkable still sometimes to think that he chose to not live. He made that decision, and it's unthinkable to think he did what he did, but he did, and it hurts. I made a little fire at the back of the farm, and I must have written to him over 100 letters. Every day for the first 3.5 months I wrote a letter of how I felt, and I'd talk to him and have a conversation, and then I'd burn that letter and send it into the atmosphere. And it's pretty hard for me to even talk about it now, but some days I was angry, some days I just couldn't even hardly talk because I had so much grief, and it was fucking a horrible time just to go through that grieving process, and I'm still carrying a lot of it, but I have had to move on with life because I have so many other young people that I have to help, and I have to keep my shit together, and that's probably a good thing because we can't just be in a state of grief all the time. I had a really weird thing, and I wasn't going to talk about it. I told one of my patrons, Anna Marie, I told her in a private letter, and I also told my mate Richard on the hill. And I thought I was going mad. I'm not spiritual at all. I don't go to church, and I don't believe in anything. But I had the most bizarre, weird thing happen that's ever happened to me in my life, and I put it down to being maybe not enough food in my belly. I was away on my tar hunt with my mate Richard. I'd caught my tar, and I was up a back gully. I'd only eaten one meal a day, which all I have, but I had exerted a lot of energy, and I probably should have had more food on board, and I think that's why my brain hallucinated and saw what happened. But I was pig hunting, and I could hear the noise of chaps. Chaps are what you wear to protect your legs from scratches. And I could hear this behind me, and I turned around and I thought, fuck, who's that? And I kept on walking, and I heard it again, and then nothing for a while, and got down the bottom of the gully, and there was a whole lot of rushes. We're in country that's got those bulrushes and those sort of horrible cutty grasses and those horrible bloody things that stab you, that stick up. Spear grass they call it. And I heard the noise again. And it was starting to like play in my mind. Someone's walking behind me. And then I turned around, and there he was. The funny thing about it was, this guy never used to wear chaps. He was so tough. He used to just smash through the bush and the blackberry and that. He never wore chaps. And the first thing I said to him was, it wasn't like, oh man, it's you. The first thing I said to him was, you don't wear chaps. And then he smiled at me. He was smiling at me, and then I suddenly clicked, and I said his name. Man, you're here. And he just kept on smiling at me. And I was like, I had this huge rush through my body, like all my whole existence and everything I'd thought about and everything I'd have witnessed and knew him to be not here suddenly got completely challenged, and there he was standing on the hill. And I shut my eyes and went like this and shook my head again, and I said his name again, looked up, and he was still there. I was like, this is fucking... I was so overwhelmed with joy, and I couldn't put it in the right place. And then I went up to give him a hug, and as I was walking up, I had to watch where I was because it was quite steep and that, and as I walked up, I got up there, and when I got up close, it was an old punga standing up, and I must have made the whole thing up my head. and I just felt flawed, and I was gutted. And I thought, man, are you losing your mind? I could feel his spirit. I could feel his spirit there, and I'm sure he was there, but I think I was just in depletion of not enough tucker in my belly, and my brain had created this. I sat down for a moment and breathed. I said, Clay, you're going insane, man. Is there such a thing that really exists? Is it a spirits? Are they really there? But I felt like he was there on the hill with me, and it really challenged my whole belief system. Really challenged, is there life after death? Personally, I think I just hallucinated, but I don't know. I know I'm not insane. I know I'm not crazy, because I'm high functioning every day. So sometimes I think, geez, could have that been a form of schizophrenia or a form of hallucinating or what? And probably it was, but I know myself to be of a sound mind most of the time. So I actually told my mate Richard, back when I got the heart, I had to tell somebody, and him and I agreed it was probably something just my brain had made up because I'd been going so hard the last few days. But I'll tell you right now, for me, it was as real as I'm sitting in this truck right now outside the mega store talking to you guys. It was no different. And when I look back at it, it's a memory. So what I've done now is I've made it into a happy memory. It's hard to talk about it because the pain of the realization that he is dead. But now I look back on that as a really happy moment and a chance to talk to him. I really wanted to give him a hug and just say, look, I love you and I miss you. I say that anyway. Anyway, if you are contemplating taking your own life, understand that your pain, we all carry it. Everybody that loves you carries it. You're taking an easy way out for yourself, and you're leaving it behind for us to deal with. And although it's a different type of pain, we're dealing with the pain of losing you because we love you. And you may think, oh, no one loves me, and well, at that moment you're not in your right mind. You are loved by so many people. Right now someone's thinking about you in a good way that you're not even aware of. All the young men I look after, I think about them constantly, how I can better their lives, how I can make sure that on my death, when the day comes, that I've left something better behind for this future generation. I'll be honest with you, I don't have a huge amount of hope for this future generation the way it is, and I put that down to my generation not having done their job properly. I put it down to failed systems. But know that if you're in that place and you are thinking of really doing that, if you've planned it, you're leaving a world of pain behind for those that loved you, those that knew you, those that wanted to be friends with you, those that banked on you being the future, those that invested their love and time and care and everything they had into you. It's tragic that this happens, and it's still happening, and it's a high rate of it in New Zealand. But please consider it. If you've come to that dark point in your life where you want out, step away from yourself and try and be for a moment selfless and think of those that you leave behind. Sorry, today's bro check video is not a positive, uplifting one, but I always intend to be honest with every video I do, and if that means showing my hurt, my pain, which I carry sometimes, not all the time, most 90% of the time I'm functioning, then so be it. And we shouldn't be ashamed of men, and it's taken me a long time to learn how to express my emotions, because I grew up being taught not to. But it's also part of being a man is actually being in touch with that and using it to show empathy towards others. That's part of being a man. It's not a matter of hardening up. Hardening up, just the people that harden up are the ones that top themselves, because nothing gives. Check on a brother. I'm actually going to take Daniel out pig hunting this afternoon. That's my therapy. We also need meat because he's eating him out of our house and home. But that's my therapy. That's what I do for me. And when I start walking the hills with the dogs, I have clarity. And I'll also think of my lost son, my fallen son, in a good way. Go steady. See you in the next video. See you later.